Hello crafters! So I'm going to try to keep this intro very short. So I've been working on this project that is this super cute house, but it is so intricate and hard the video would be way too long if I tried to explain step by step. So it's going to be more of like an inspiration video, but if you do want the little details and measurements, let me know through my Instagram. So yeah, so that's all I have to say and let's get started. Okay guys, so here in front of me I have all the pieces. I pre-cut almost all of them because then it makes it easier and more fun later on when we're building it. For this craft, I'm going to start building from the bottom and just make my way up. And also I wanted to quickly mention I doubled all of my pieces, so there's 2 layers on every piece. I did this because mine isn't that thin, so it'll make it last a lot longer, but depending on the thickness of your foam board or cardboard, you might need to make it 2 layers or just 1. Okay, I kind of cleared everything up, so now on the table I just have all the pieces for the bottom. This is a very important step actually because you want to make sure you have a very sturdy bottom so you can build everything up and the bottom won't collapse. The main thing that gave me the opportunity to make this house look so realistic and so good was the scrapbook paper I used. So this is in the description down below. It is $20, has 60 pieces, so it's actually quite cheap. So definitely get one of these if you want to start crafting. I carefully chose the patterns I wanted to use, making sure they all sort of matched in the colors. We want our edges to look really clean, so for that, cover all the edges with a piece of white paper. Once our edges are nice and clean, then you can go ahead and glue on the scrapbook paper of your choice to the floors and to any area that you think will need that scrapbook paper. Okay, so as you see now, all of mine are covered in the colors I want to cover them in. I pre-planned so that I know exactly what colors and what patterns I need to put in what places. And then you can just, once you're done with that, glue it all together. And to glue it all together, I used hot glue. I will link mine in the description down below because I really like it. Okay guys, so I'm done with the bottom now. All this is just the foam board and the scrapbook paper. Okay, now I have all the side pieces in front of me. As you see, mine has a lot of side pieces and it was kind of overwhelming, but I got through it, so it's all okay. But before I could glue them to the floor, I had to do a little bit of work to them to make them look more realistic and more house-like. And any of the window edges, I covered it with some brown paper. That was because I wanted the window frames to be brown, so I needed this to be brown as well. I don't know if that makes any sense. But as you see, it gives a very nice, clean look. And then on the edges that weren't part of the window, I covered it with some white paper the same exact way. Then I took this scrapbook paper, it almost looks like a nice wood, and then I kind of went around with some hot glue and made a little frame for all the windows and all the doors. And at this point, this is what it was looking like. Okay guys, so I want to do one final thing to kind of snazz it up just a little bit more, make it look a bit more realistic. So I decided to make some lines with a ruler and a pen. The ruler was very important because I needed all the lines to be exactly ½ an inch apart from each other for the best possible outcome. After making sure the lines were good with a pencil, I went over it with a pen. And a couple hours later, I made it that far with all of my pieces. Then I got the floor back out, and now I could start assembling it. I started from the middle and made my way outwards. And definitely use a very generous amount of hot glue. Here's what we're looking like. I have to do it vertical just because my camera horizontally doesn't reach the whole thing. There's a few little things, like as you see, these edges aren't the cleanest right here. This is where I'm at right now. It looks okay in my opinion. So we're gonna move on to doing the roofs, which is next. Then I got out all my roof pieces, and as you can see, some of them were a very funky shape. Okay, so basically there's 2 main ways that you could go about making the roof. Number 1, my first option was to just get scrapbook paper, but my second option was to actually use some real, brown colored paper and make it like a 3D, very textured roof. But before I did anything, I covered all the edges with the brown paper. Then what I did was use the colors, like take the colors I wanted to use and then cut them into little squares so that that would be like the tiling to the roof. So basically when it was all done, covered in all the paper, I took a paintbrush and painted it a darker brown because I didn't like the color. And this is also going to give it a very like worn out, weathered look. And if you see that it's necessary, I could have also done 2 coats, but I just stuck with 1 because it was fine. And then all I did was just glue in the roof pieces in their designated spots. And the next thing I did was finish this little tower area. And these were all the pieces I used, so I just glued them into their spot. So as you see, now this little tower goes all the way around, which is so cool in my opinion. So now we have to make its own roof. First what I did is cut this hexagon that fit right on top and then glued it into place. Then I cut 6 of these triangles, each with 2 layers of foam board. And then similar to the other roofs, I did the same thing by gluing on the paper. But then instead of painting them now, I'm actually going to put them all together onto the house and then paint them afterwards. And as you see, I added a few more little strips of paper for more texture, and then I went right ahead and started painting. And in the meantime, now I'm going to start working on some of the smaller details, like the first thing was some plants that I want to have right here in the front. Okay, so I used popsicle sticks, and let's give a minute to this beautiful box of 1,000 popsicle sticks. I love this. It was only like $7, so I'll have it in my description again, but look how many it comes with. Okay, so I went ahead and picked out a few, but before I actually cut off all the rounded edges. I also covered the visible edges with brown paper. I also added one that went across the top. And I just glued them on their place in the front. So for the plants, I just used these little fake plants I get from the dollar store. I've had this moss for a long time that is actually also from the dollar store, but I'm going to use it to fill in all this space because I don't have enough plants to fill in all this space, so this will add a lot more green without adding more plants. Okay, so I love the way it turned out because adding a bit more greenery always adds a lot more realisticness to it. Now I'm going to add some stairs so they can get up into the house. So here are all the pieces that I used for the stairs. And now I moved on and made a balcony to go right in this spot, which you would access through the bedroom. Now we have to make a little railing to go so that they don't fall off of the balcony. I did this using these little popsicle sticks that I cut. Then I just lined them up where I wanted them to go so that I knew like an estimate of where I wanted to glue them before I went ahead and glued them together. And after gluing them together, I used this paint I used for the roof to paint it a darker brown. While waiting for that to dry, I started working on the 2 doors I need by cutting these 2 rectangles, which both had 2 layers of foam board. Before anything, I covered the edges with some paper. Then I got out this scrapbook paper, which is actually the same one I used for the framing of the windows. And I just glued on a rectangular piece on the front and the back of each one of these rectangles. I wanted to add a bit more dimension to these doors, so that's why I cut these little rectangles. I put the two smallest ones on the top, and then the two medium-sized ones in the middle and at the bottom. And so the door looks something like this. I used these little gold beads for handlebars. And that's what my doors ended up looking like. And then I used popsicle sticks to put the doors into their designated spots. And this is what they look like, and because of the way I made them, they can actually open and they can close. And at this point, the railing was already dry, so I glued on the taller and longer one at the top, and then the two shorter ones at the bottom. And you guys, I almost forgot to glue on the two floors that we still need in the house. So then I moved on to going on the inside of the house. As you see, it's looking a little bit rough, but don't mind it, we'll fix that later. I took this piece and glued it onto this for the second floor, and as you see, there's a little spot that is like a marble, and that's because there's going to be a bathroom there, and on the other part there's going to be a bedroom, so that's why I kind of separated it into two different floors. And then I glued this piece of foam board that was going to be the floor for the third floor. Then I glued this separator as a separator from the bedroom to the bathroom. And then this little piece was just for extra support on the bottom. And that was all I did for the inside. So on the inside, everything was actually already done big that I wanted to do. So now all I had to do was add little things to fix up the little screwed up edges and stuff like that. For that, I just used the box of a cereal thing because it's such thin cardboard. Into that, I actually cut it to make little thin strips that I then covered in some white paper and glued onto any sharp or messy areas. Alright guys, so I actually just finished, and it's actually hard to see on camera, but in person it looks so much cleaner in those little spots. And that was actually it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Although it did take me a long time to make this, I very much enjoyed making it. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that if you do want the measurements, which I didn't include in this video, you can go follow me on my Instagram and then DM me after you follow and stuff like that. And also, make sure that you like and you subscribe and come back next week to see how one of these rooms gets decorated. And then in other videos, other rooms will be decorated, and it'll just keep going like that until this whole house is fully decorated and full of furniture. So yeah, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time. Bye, crafters!